Time now for sports on 104.7 The Cave. Here's Ned Reynolds.
Ned Reynolds, Mike the intern, back in the studio. It's Friday. Thank the good Lord. Justin Tucker, even though he still doesn't have a team as far as I know, even if he does get a team, he ain't going to get to play a whole lot this year.
Well, the interesting thing about it is it's a 10-game suspension that the National Football League has handed down. I do understand that. This is another one of those massage therapists' complaint against an individual. Tucker, folks, is no small item to have been suspended. He's one of the top kickers, or had been, with the Baltimore Ravens. Heck, he holds the record for the longest field goal in NFL history, 66 yards. But over and above that, he did falter slightly last year, very slightly. So it could be, when the Ravens cut him, that they may have been thinking about it anyway. Regardless of that, the National Football League has suspended him for 10 games. Well, he's not with any team, so how does that work? Well, here's how it works. The suspension will be in effect even though he's not with the team. In other words, if a ball club came along, we'll just use the Chiefs as an example, they wouldn't do it, but then they want to sign him at midseason, he'd have to wait whatever the number of weeks is, 5, 6, 7, whatever it is that he's not signed. He can begin playing immediately after 10 weeks, even though he hasn't been with another team. Pretty interesting situation. I do think he gets picked up by somebody. He's just really too good a kicker not to.
It would be an interesting situation if he didn't, because of what happened, since you have a team in Cleveland that picked one up after multiple allegations, but then if this guy, just because he's a kicker, doesn't get picked up and they don't want to mess with it. Be interesting look on the ownership. All right, what about the Missouri Amateur Golf Tournament? Where are we at with that?
It's going on up at Old Hawthorne in Columbia, and the first round of match play was yesterday because 64 players competed, the top 64 in qualifying. They go in match play. Match play is player against player. So the field is immediately cut in half after yesterday's competition. So you have 32 players going to the sideline, 32 still playing. That'll be the case today. 32 players will tee it off, and they're probably teeing off right about now, Mike. And indeed, there are 2 rounds today. So if you win your first match play, you have to play a second one. So you get right down to the quarterfinals and the semifinals, which come up this weekend. Championship is Sunday, and it's a 36-hole one-on-one match play. That's how the state champion is decided in Missouri. Pretty good deal, and we've had a number of outstanding individuals. Heck, the four-time winner is Tom Watson, one of the all-time greats of golf. He was a 4-time state champ. Payne Stewart was a state champion. We've had any number of them, and it's really a big feather to be able to sport that championship caliber.
And again, don't let the name amateur fool you. It's not like me and Ned out there. There will be a slight change in college football, not this season, but in the 26th season.
It is a very slight difference. Right now, the Division I teams can play 12, 13 games. Well, FCS 1AA, where the Bears had been, were limited to 11. That was the most you could play. Next year, 2026, not this coming season, but next season, that ends. And FCS or 1AA teams will be allowed to play as many as 12 regular season games, plus the playoff competition that they get into, and that's different from what the Division I teams have. But it is a slight difference. I think it's testimony to the fact that those players are getting paid now. They're getting nil money, and they really need to have some kind of a venue for being able to display that, and they will with this situation.
Yeah, and a lot of other colleges are jumping ship because they're getting the opportunity to make more money in different divisions. So there you have it. What makes the world go round, Ned? Going into this series with the Cubs, the Cardinals were, I would dare to say, on fire. But the Cubs are a hell of a team, and they're having a great year, too, and they're snuffing them out right now.
Well, it has to be awfully disappointing for St. Louis because they being the Cardinals, won the first 2 games of this 4-game series, got to 2.5 games back of the Cubs. Hey, this is great. They're playing well. And in the next 2 games, the final of which was yesterday, how many runs do you suppose the Cardinals have scored?
That would be a big goose egg, my friend.
Both of them.
Yep.
18 innings without scoring. Yesterday was 3-0. The Cubs won it. And the margin of difference between the two teams in the standings is exactly the same now as what it was on Monday when this series began. That's really, really disappointing. But now the Cardinals go on the road. They play the Guardians in Cleveland this weekend. Then they have the Pirates in Pittsburgh coming up at the start of next week. Then they go right back to Wrigley Field again during the 4th of July weekend, and don't you know they'll have some huge crowds there. This will be a lot of fun. That's what baseball's about.
That is what baseball is about, my friend. And again, it's not any better on the other side of the state. My Royals have just had one hell of a June. Let's just say the month of June has been pretty damn awful for the Kansas City Royals.
What happened to home field advantage?
It doesn't exist against the Rays, obviously.
Well, or any team. Heck, the Royals have lost 10 straight home games.
Yeah.
10 straight, folks. What is this? And here come the Tampa Bay Rays in, and they are flying under the radar as they do every single year. This is really an astounding story in baseball. Here's a team that has everything going against it. First of all, it's a team of really, I don't mean this to be insulting, but it's a team of no names. I'm not even familiar with any of them. And they're playing in a spring training ballpark in Tampa, Florida, where the Yankees train. They have to. Their stadium in Tampa has been compromised by a storm. Anyway, that's beside the point. The Rays are a half a game back in the New York Yankees in the American League East. Royals simply cannot hit the ball. 10 straight losses at home. They were blanked by Tampa Bay yesterday. Oh, my goodness sake, what is happening? 4-0 was the final yesterday. And if you're not hitting the ball and making contact, which they are not, you're not going to win. And the Royals aren't. And the Springbirds, what on earth? Here is the North Division champion for the first half of the season in the Texas League. They haven't won yet in the second half. 3 straight losses. Wichita beat them 5-0 yesterday, last night actually, and my goodness sake, what is this? I hope it's not a portent of things to come in the second half.
Hey, you know what? If it is, it doesn't matter. They're still in the playoffs.
They are there. They are there.
Let's talk about Wimbledon. That's next week, isn't it?
Begins Monday. Actually, it's very, very early Monday morning, the wee hours here in the Central Time Zone. But, yeah, that's the final draw, the main draw of Wimbledon, and it does begin. It'll be a lot of fun. The seeds will be announced all this weekend, but I'm sure that Yannick Sinner or Alcatraz will be the top seeds in the men's, and probably, well, the women's top seeds could be up for grabs with any of them. They have some very fine players. But over and above all that, it'll be a lot of fun on the grass at Wimbledon in a couple of weeks, the fortnight, as they call it in London, and that's always a big deal.
Well, you got your money on this time around.
No chocolate chips.
You're not going to tell me, Ned. Have a good weekend. I'll see you later.